You know that feeling of being totally swamped with information, but not really knowing what any of it means? Well, how do we fix that? Today, we're going to break down the statistical process. It's a super powerful way to turn a whole mess of numbers into insights that actually make sense. Let's jump in.
You've probably heard that phrase, data is the new gold, right? Well, it's not just a saying. The numbers really do back it up. We're talking about a projected 36% growth in data science jobs over the next decade. I mean, that's way faster than the average job. The demand is absolutely real, and it's not slowing down.
So let me ask you a quick question. When you look at the job market right now, what's one of the biggest skills that companies are desperate for, but can't seem to find enough people who can actually do it?
And the answer has a whole lot to do with this number. We're looking at the median salary for a data scientist in the US. But look, this isn't just about a big paycheck. It's the market basically screaming about how incredibly valuable this one particular skill set has become.
So what is this skill? What is this superpower?
It's really just the ability to take raw, confusing data and turn it into a story, an insight, something that actually means something. And you know, the best part is, it's a process that anyone, and I mean anyone, can learn.
All right, so how are we going to do it? Here's our game plan. First up, we'll see why everything has to start with asking the right question. Then, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of organizing all that chaos. After that, the fun part, turning those boring numbers into pictures. And finally, we'll pull it all together to find that deeper meaning.
You know, every single great data discovery doesn't start with a fancy spreadsheet. It starts with a simple question. Seriously, think of it as your North Star for the entire project. It's the most important step because it literally guides everything else you're about to do.
So, here's the whole process laid out. And you can see how it's just a logical chain of events, right? It's like a set of dominoes. You can't collect any data if you don't know what question you're trying to answer. And you definitely can't analyze anything until you've gotten it all organized. Each step just flows right into the next. Now, once you got that question, the very first thing you need to do is define your population. And listen, this doesn't just mean people. It's the entire group you're curious about. So if your question is, what's the average screen time for high schoolers in Chicago? Your population is every single high schooler in Chicago.
But let's be real. Trying to survey every single high schooler in a major city, well, it's pretty much impossible. So what do? We take a sample. It's just a small, manageable slice of that bigger population. The trick, though, is that the sample has to be representative. If you get that part right, you can learn from that small group and make some incredibly accurate guesses about the whole population.
Okay, so you've got your question, and you've collected your data from your sample. Now you're probably just staring at a giant spreadsheet full of random words and numbers. It looks like chaos. So our next step is to bring some order to that chaos by classifying everything.
At the most basic level, pretty much all data falls into one of two big buckets. You've got your categorical data, which is stuff you can sort into groups, like favorite color or brand of car. And then you've got numerical data, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's stuff you can actually measure, like height or temperature.
And if we zoom in on that numerical data, there are two types there too. First, you have discrete data. The easiest way to think about this is, can you have half of one? You can have 28 students in a classroom or 29, but you can't have 28 and a half students, right? It has to be a whole number.
And the flip side of that is continuous data. This is stuff that you measure, and it can be any value on a spectrum. Think about it. A person's weight isn't just 150 or 151 pounds. It could be 150.2 or 150.275 pounds. It can get super precise.
All right, now for my favorite part. This is where the real magic starts to happen. Once we've got all our data nice and organized, we can start to unlock its secrets by visualizing it. This is where we stop staring at boring spreadsheets and start actually seeing the stories in the data.
You know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a good graph is worth 1,000 rows in a spreadsheet. It can take a really complex idea and make it simple and clear in just a few seconds. The key is just picking the right graph for the story you're trying to tell. So, here's our basic toolkit. It's really all about picking the right tool for the job. Want to compare sales between a few different products? A bar graph is your best friend. Want to see how your website visits have changed over the last year? That's a line graph. Need to show how your budget is broken down by percentage? Easy, pie chart. And if you think two things might be related, like study time and test scores, a scatter plot will show you that relationship. Okay, we've organized our data, we've turned it into pictures, so what's next? Well, now we get to the whole point of this exercise, analysis. This is where we put on our detective hats, start interpreting what we found, and finally get an answer to that big question we started with.
Just take a look at this. This is a tiny little snapshot of some real-world data on carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Looking at it like this, it's just a wall of numbers. It's overwhelming. It doesn't really tell you anything, does it?
But then, watch what happens. The moment you plot those numbers on a simple graph, this happens. It becomes the world-famous Keeling curve. All of a sudden, that meaningless list of numbers tells one of the clearest and most important stories of our time. That is the power of a good graph.
Now, during analysis, we also have a few simple but really powerful tools to help us summarize things. You've probably heard of these: the mean, median, and mode. The mean is just the average. The median is the number right smack in the middle, which is super helpful if you have a few really high or low numbers that might throw off the average. And the mode is just the one that shows up the most often. Together, they give you a really quick snapshot of your data. Okay, this next one is so important because it's a trap that people fall into all the time. It's the difference between correlation and causation. The classic example is that as ice cream sales go up, so do crime rates. So, does ice cream cause crime? Of course not. There's a hidden factor, hot weather, that's causing both to go up. Always remember, just because two things happen together, it doesn't mean one is causing the other. So, there you have it. We've walked through the whole process, from asking a question all the way to drawing a conclusion. But what does this really mean for you? Well, it means you now have the basic blueprint for a new kind of superpower.
And I'm serious, this isn't just for scientists in lab coats. This is a skill for everyday life. It's about being able to look at a news headline and think critically about it, or make a smarter choice with your money, or just understand the world around you with a little more clarity.
Just think about it for a second. The data from your fitness tracker, from your monthly budget, the news you see every day, data is absolutely everywhere. So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. What story is the data all around you just waiting to tell?